Yes, that's right. The Survivor Know-It-Alls are back after another exciting episode of Survivor Ghost Island, Stephen Fishbach.
Wow, great episode, really fun ending. I did not see it coming. Let me say, Rob, that I am so blown away by how colorful you are over there on this podcast. Like, you're in like these blues and greens, and I'm like, I look like I'm like dying in a garret apartment in like a French
I thought
opera.
you would have mentioned something about this last week, actually, in the season premiere, but you were so excited about the 2-hour premiere.
I wasn't even looking at you. I was just, my head was in the sky.
All right. Well, if you're listening to us on the audio version of this, you can always check out what Steven's talking about on our YouTube channel. Go to Rob's website.
You can't handle how bright Rob is. Wear sunglasses. Wear sunglasses. Sorry, I killed your plug.
That's fine. Steven, how are you doing tonight? You excited? I love this episode.
I love this episode too. It was great. It was really fun. We saw a lot of strategy. It's a great cast. You know what? I think more than anything, it's a really fun cast, and it's fun to see them do stuff.
Yeah, and I think that we are going to need to go back through and explain a lot, because I think that there was a lot of moving parts in this episode. So looking forward to breaking this down. This is a night where I think that we're going to be of service to some people for once this week.
Yeah. It was hard to keep track of everyone. It is true. I've heard a lot of people say it was too soon to swap because you didn't really have a sense of what the tribe dynamics were yet on each of these tribes. I certainly had trouble. I've got like my little cheat sheet of who's on which tribe. So it will be fun to discuss and break down.
Right. I was like right there. And as somebody who has, podcast 17 seasons of the show and was taking notes, like I was able to, by the end, I felt like I got it. So I felt like if you were sort of not as engaged as we were, maybe you need some hand holding on this, and we're happy to provide that service. And then other people are saying like, no, Rob, you stupid idiot. We were able to follow it just fine.
Well, I heard one person say that they were spoiled even from the beginning because in the previously on, it mentioned the legacy advantage. And like, why are they talking about the legacy advantage? Obviously, it's not coming into play this week in any way. So, maybe that person.
Then you're too smart to watch the opening of the previously on. Don't watch.
They could have been like, maybe Stephanie talked to Morgan about there were other possibilities.
I would not have gotten that Morgan was going home based on they showed the previously on.
You're not a previously on true believer.
Okay, whatever. So, one person is too smart for the previously on. We got a lot to get to tonight. Stephen Fishbach, of course. We'll have our exit interview with Morgan. A big blindside of Morgan. A lot of people had Morgan as a winner pick. People were talking to her as the new Kim Spradlin, Stephen.
No, not the new Kim Spradlin. She's
more like the new Kim Mullen.
Okay, that was pretty good. I didn't have anything. Yeah, that was great. That was so fast. Did you have that ready?
No, not really. So
that was great.
Yeah,
good job.
So she is gone, but she will be with us for the exit interview coming up on Thursday morning. So be on the lookout for that. And then I'm really excited. Got some great podcasts coming up. Zeke Smith will be here with me in the studio tomorrow. Very excited to talk to Zeke. Had a rock draw tonight. Ask Zeke about the rock draw.
Oh yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah, talk to him. There was a legacy advantage that happened in Game Changers too.
Sure.
So we will talk to him about all of that coming up tomorrow. And then I will have from Survivor, Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers, your friend and mine, Steven, Simone Wynn will be joining me on the voicemails.
Oh, wow.
You can call in and leave a question if you want.
How exciting.
Yeah. So be sure to check those out over the weekend, plus the RHAP B&B and why Morgan lost, all coming up here on robbinswebsite.com. Stephen, also real quick, 3 weeks from tonight, I will be in Reno, Nevada for Run It Up Reno. Very excited about that. I will be surrounded by a bunch of winners for once, Stephen. Tyson Apostle is going to be there. Adam Klein is going to be there. And recently announced, very exciting, that Ben Driebergen is also going to join us.
That's exciting.
Drop the Ben bomb on you.
But without me there, who's going to talk to you?
Yeah, well, the people will take turns. Yeah. So very excited. Coach is also scheduled to come as well.
Yeah, he says that. We'll see.
We'll see. Anyway, so runitupreno.com. Use the code RobReno for a discounted room rate there. 3 weeks from tonight, completely free of charge, courtesy of the great Jason Somerville. You don't even have to buy a ticket. You can just show up for a live Survivor viewing and podcast to follow there at the Peppermill Resort in Reno, Nevada. Stephen, okay, so let's get into this. Stephen, I really felt like the entire vote tonight ended up hinging on that rock draw that happened after the challenge about who to send to Ghost Island. And so both of the tribes had this 5-4 advantage from Naviti over Malolo, and then they had to make this decision. And I think in hindsight that Stephanie, her protest of sending Donathan to Ghost Island, I think that ended up costing the old Malolo.
Wait, costing the old Malolo was great for. I mean, the old Malolo ended up. Either way, it seemed like someone from Naviti was going home this week, right? On the one hand, before Chris was sent to Ghost Island, it sure looked like it was going to be Chris or Dominic. Once Chris is gone, then Morgan leaves. What does it cost them? I think it's better for Malolo to have voted out Morgan than it would have been for them to vote out Chris.
Would they have voted out Chris or would they have voted out Dominic?
One of those two. Either way, I think that that would be, this is the right move because go ahead.
Are you saying because it's better to have these two warring factions still in the game together?
Yeah, I think yes. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, when we talk about, I guess at some point we're going to talk about why pick Morgan over Angela. And I think it is because, if they got rid of Angela, just as if they'd gotten rid of Chris, then they would have this faction of Wendell, Dominic, and Morgan there. They're more strategic, they're more united, and they're a bigger threat down the line to the Malolos versus keeping Chris around and keeping Angela around. They're weaker players. Chris, Dominic, you're worried he's lying to your face. Chris, has his heart totally on his sleeve. If he's angry at Dominic, the whole world knows he's angry at Dominic. He can't hide anything. I think having Chris around is great. Having Dominic around is probably great for them too. But you think that Dominic would have been the one to go home if Chris were still? Why is that? Why, if Chris were there, would Dominic have been the one to go?
Well, you had the 4 people from Malolo who were looking for anybody from Naviti to flip. Stephen, I thought that this was, even a little bit like what you went into at the merge back in Tocantins, where the coaches tribe was very fractured and they were looking for anybody to join them. And you and JT and Taj ended up being in a good position because of that. And even though Malolo came in at a disadvantage, that you had this split group in Naviti because of this rift between Dominic and Chris, that they ended up having being in a good spot because of this.
Oh yeah, totally. I completely agree with that. But that's why I don't see why it hurts them that Chris ends up going instead of Jonathan.
Well, I feel like that they had an opportunity to take out somebody who was more of a wild card from Naviti as opposed to Morgan, who that might have been a very stealthy player. She did have the legacy advantage, but ultimately that unless you're counting on Chris and Dominic to destroy each other, I feel like you had a chance to take out a more dangerous player in Dominic.
Well, they still had the chance to take out Dominic, right? They still could have put 4 votes on Dominic, but as James points out, it's not worth the risk of, if Dominic places idle, what if the Naviti 4 are basically gaslighting the Malolos? They're actually voting 4 strong for one of them, and then Dominic plays his idol. So, Libby says, I don't think he has it. James says, well, what if he does have it? And I agree with James. It's not like voting for Dominic in this spot is not worth the risk versus the advantage of just taking out Morgan.
Yeah, I wish we could have seen more of that negotiation. We sort of just came in at the end where we got to see what Bradley was saying and what Stephanie was saying. And then ultimately we came down to having to go to that rock draw. It happened all very quickly. So I even was having some trouble following exactly why are they going for Donathan? Why wouldn't they want? Because I was very hung up on the giving immunity to somebody from, was Stephanie looking to protect her friend Donathan, or was Donathan not one of her allies? Did she want to protect somebody different from Malolo, or was it sheerly about the numbers?
I think it was about the numbers, right? Because if it was about protecting someone, she would have wanted to protect her friend Donathan, right? But it did seem to be like, if one of the old Navitis is sent to Ghost Island, then the Malolos have a real good shot. If Donathan is sent, then there's a certainty, right, that an old Malolo, from the perspective of Stephanie, right, it sure seems like if Donathan goes to Ghost Island, a Malolo is much more likely to go home.
Right. So it's difficult to follow because these you have these 2 groups of 4, and we've only seen them for 1 week, and we don't necessarily know who is with who inherently. So we have this split between the two tribes end up happening here. And then I thought it was very hard to give the credit to who from Malolo. Like, we saw a lot of the perspective of Naviti, but we saw basically James talking about how, I don't know if we can trust Dominic, but it was unclear how exactly that plan came together.
Oh, I thought it was clear. I thought James was the one who made this observation that, we're being presented with this binary choice. We can vote out, Dominic, or we can vote out, or, Angela. But actually, if old Naviti is voting against each other, we can vote out anybody we want. And it's easy on Survivor, as in life, to let a binary choice distract you from the multitude of other possibilities there are. And so James has this epiphany. We can take out anybody we want. Who do we want to take out? And, ultimately they choose Morgan. This is my question for you, Rob, do you agree with me that Morgan is better it's better to eliminate Morgan than Angela?
Boy, I mean, I think it depends on from whose perspective we're looking at it from. I mean, if they look at Dominic as the next target, was it better to keep Angela in play because Angela is sort of the right-hand person of Chris, and that she could then be part of a coalition with Chris to then take out Dominic? I mean, this is a very Littlefinger-esque plan from Malolo, if that is the case, and I like it a lot. So I would say that I agree with that because I don't think that Angela is as much of a threat in the game.
Yeah, and Angela has just seen these two other players from her tribe try to take her out. She's going to be furious. She's not a threat. We know that she's got already kind of this rift with Chris happening. I think the Morgan move is best because of the way that it creates maximum dysfunction among the remaining Navitis. I mean, it's interesting. Like, when I first saw it, I thought, this is so dumb. Why don't you want to work with the good strategists? Why don't you guys want to work with Wendell and Dominic and Morgan? Like, these are the guys who are playing the game. Like, I would want to play the game. Like, don't you? Like,
who are you saying that from?
For like the James's perspective, from the Malolo's perspective, like, wouldn't you want to work with smart people? But then actually, like, you kind of don't want to work with smart people, right? You want to work with dumb people. Not that Angela and Chris are dumb, but they're like less maybe devious. You want to work with more straightforward people. And I think, like, I was thinking, like, if I were out there, I might make the call to like side. I might say, like, let's vote out Angela because I think it'll be fun to play with Wendell and Dominic just because they seem like they're more fun. But that would be the wrong decision.
Yeah, especially when they're from the side that already has numbers against you.
Yeah, exactly. So, and just the clarity of the fact that, Wendell and Dominic have now voted against Angela. It's such an obvious betrayal in the way that if they had just voted out Angela, there wouldn't be this sense, of indignation on anyone on Naviti.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Stephen, that's a great point that you bring up about that. So they did try to throw one of their own under the bus. Did you agree with that move from Naviti? Because I feel like that the Naviti 4 definitely misplayed this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they 100%. I mean, it's funny. Like, I was just writing in my blog that you often see these big tribes that are dominant make this exact same mistake of like trying to settle their own scores way too soon. But like, this isn't like that big a tribe, and it hasn't like been that dominant. It won 2 challenges. It's day what? Day 7. Yeah. So it's like, you guys are like jumping the gun here on your arrogance. Some, you can understand why some tribes get arrogant and complacent, but with Naviti, you really can't. And especially because their guy that they wanted out, Chris, isn't even there. So they're like, you know what, Chris isn't here, but let's take out someone else who's like somewhat related to Chris, but not really related to Chris. It just, they're so fixated on this one story that they can't see beyond that. I mean, what did you think?
Yeah, I think it always comes down to whatever group is tighter. The biggest, tighter group is always going to prevail. And even if they had numbers, if they're not tight, they will ultimately end up fracturing under this pressure. But I thought that they probably gave up the dream too quickly to say, okay, well, we're definitely not going to go to Rocks for Angela. Nobody cares that much about Angela to be willing. But then they're setting up a potential situation where where they could either, unless they're also giving up that they're going to vote out Chris in this next round, if that's what Wendell is thinking, then they're sort of giving up this numerical advantage in the game also. I mean, that the idea there was, and I think that Kellen talked about this, boy, wouldn't it be so epic if we could just vote out all of the Malolo people going away, and then would not be epic for us viewers, by the way, Kellen. But to have this Pagani, you want to take out as many people as you can from the other tribe to give yourself the bigger numerical advantage. And it seems like that Wendell did not seem particularly concerned with this.
Yeah, you're right. Like, because if they just do 1, 2, then suddenly the numbers are, if they do Chris then Angela, or Angela, sorry, Angela then Chris, suddenly the numbers are even. I mean, ultimately at this point in the game, nobody can expect that their tribe is going to remain dominant all the way through. And I don't think it's unreasonable for Wendell to say, like, hey, I'm not connecting with these 2 people. I've got these other 3 people here, 4 people who I do feel better about. But it's kind of careless. It's not an unreasonable thing to say, like, I want to make a new alliance that I trust more than with those people. But given how tight this numerical advantage is, it does seem quite dangerous.
And it didn't really seem as though we saw an effort from Naviti, not to say that it didn't happen, to really feel out who might be the weak link in Malolo. It seemed like that they automatically just started looking inward in terms of, okay, who from our side is disposable?
Well, we did see, Morgan and Libby kind of making that bond in that sense that, like, clearly Morgan thought that they had a really good connection. Her parting words were, you can't trust what was it, like the cute blonde or something. I was actually just debating with Wiggler on Twitter about, like, was this a good move for Libby? And I was saying no, because while it's better for, like, the Malolos generally, Libby does sort of lose this one person who she has this connection with. And that's why I think also it's a good move for James, is because, he's kind of cutting off this outside connection that someone in his alliance is developing. That's why great to get rid of Morgan.
Well, I think that Libby is shaping up to maybe be one of the villains of Survivor 36. Josh had some really great stuff back in First One Out, and we touched on it in the Wiggle Room as well this week, that he felt like that he watched Libby at that first tribal council. He could not believe how stone cold she was in voting out Gonzalez at that first tribal council. Everybody else was afraid to make eye contact, and he said that Libby was like staring her down. He was like, wow. He couldn't believe how Libby was, with this perception of you can't judge the book by its cover, this, nice, sweet Catholic. And she seems like she is really ready to go for the jugular of the other players in this game. And we see her do it to Morgan on the show this week. But Stephen, I thought that she actually made a really big mistake. And I feel like that one of the best things, if not the best thing, that Officer Sarah did in Game Changers was when she voted out to, I guess that I'm assuming her to know that Morgan might have the legacy advantage, but had she not, when she voted out Morgan, if she would have maybe not have been as gleeful about it, maybe not as talked about how she loves to lie to people. That's her thing.
Yeah, I mean,
she might have got the legacy advantage.
Yeah, but there's no way to guess that any person you're voting. I guess now actually maybe you should. Maybe every time you vote someone out, you should just hope they have the legacy advantage.
They just watched it. They just watched they just watched 2 seasons in a row where people had the legacy advantage.
Yeah, but Sierra had told Officer Sarah that she had the legacy advantage. It's not like Morgan has shared that information with Libby. I did not think that this was like some stone cold assassination on Libby's behalf. She tried to talk James out of this move. She tried to argue that they should vote for Dominic. James,
but she loved it. She was taking the blood of Morgan and putting it on like eye black.
You must have seen my version must have been censored. I did not have the blood on the eyelashes or whatever.
I just thought that she did a really bad job with Jeff asked her Libby, so can people lie in this game? And she her eyes lit up and she's like, oh yes, everybody thinks that I'm like this nice, sweet person. And I can't wait to lie to everybody. People think I can't do it, but I can't wait.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Anyway, good move for Malolo, right? Obviously bad for Naviti. What do you think the move is for Naviti? Presumably Chris comes back. He's pissed. Angela's pissed. What is the move for that remaining group? What's the move for Wendell and Dominic here?
Well, I don't know. They really need to regroup. And then I thought it was so crazy that at the tribal council, where Angela then ended up basically like outing the plan about how it seemed like, unless Dominic was just sort of like playing dumb at that tribal council, it seemed like he genuinely didn't know that that Angela had sort of had like marching orders to go ahead and vote against Dominic at that tribal council. So I think he comes back, Chris, and hears about what happened. And then Angela, who's obviously upset, I would think, that she got 3 votes from Naviti at this tribal council. I think that now sort of like pushed her into the arms of Malolo. And if this group goes to tribal council again, I think that Chris and Angela will certainly vote with Malolo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I totally think so. I mean, Angela, especially after this tribal council, basically has nowhere to go, right? She's already feeling alienated from Chris. She's just seen the rest of her tribe against her. I mean, I think that's one of the great advantages of this vote, is the way it sort of brings over this, Angela as this defector.
Incredible night for Malolo.
Big night for Malolo, really was.
Who did you give the fishy to? James?
You got to read the blog, but yes, James, still click on the blog. At least give me the clicks.
I'll click on it. I'll click on it.
Yeah. It's James. Yeah, I thought he did a great job. I just, and all of the ways that he just unpacked Dominic, I think he might be lying about this fake idol and using it as to deceive us about a real idol. He just nailed it.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to Dominic, because there was a lot of, in the discourse of the week, the Survivor news cycle, a lot was made about, did Dominic make a good move with this fake idol that he ended up showing to Chris? And then we saw Dominic again go back to that well this week and then bringing over a bunch of people from Malolo. I know that James was there, Laurel was there, maybe Libby too. And he said, look, this is what I showed Chris. It's a fake idol. I just made a fake idol. That's why he thinks that I have the real idol, but it's fake, obviously. And they did not buy it again. So this is now the second week in a row where Dominic is doing something. And believe me, he's a joy to watch. I love having this character out there. So excited that he has the legacy advantage. That could not be more exciting to keep giving him more advantages. But
give him a full bag. Would you say he should have a bag full of
yes,
tricks? Yeah.
Yes, but it's not working.
Yeah, but that's what's great. If the person is like, if he tries everything and like manages to fool everybody, like that's good for him. I guess that's fun too. But they're both fun. Yeah, it's not working. But does he know it's not working? That's the question.
I don't think so. I don't think he knows that it's not working.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because, I feel like that in the age of Tony, which really was sort of like the dawn of the big moves era, that I do feel like that people were doing all these things. And I think that it sort of like paralyzed the other players, of that they were like, we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But I think that we're past that. And while maybe they're saying, okay, well, not today for Dominic, let's sort of like, pick around the edges a little bit.
I don't know.
I feel like that they have him sort of under control.
Rob, every season you declare the end of the big moves era, and eventually you're going to be right. So someday it'll be true.
Yes. Okay. Well, we'll have to just keep watching then.
Yeah. I don't think we're there yet. I think we're still in big. I mean, like, this is like Advantage Island. It's definitely like, it's a little slow going, but the beginning is always a little slow. We're gonna have the big moves. They're gonna come out. We're gonna see some crazy advantage plays.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you feel like that Dominic strategy will be effective then?
No, I really do agree. I think that's a really great observation, that people get afraid of someone like Tony, or even someone like Joe, who's just like so gung-ho and so aggressive. But yeah, I guess you're right that like now that there have been a few of those characters, it's easier to see through them and say, I don't buy this.
Yeah. And then it will be fun to see, what Dominic has. The real idol, got the fake idol, and is now going to, have a legacy advantage in his pocket. Also, he will be able to, now it'll be a mystery for him, because he really has the advantage where Morgan, we talked about last week, how Jacob went and told Stephanie, okay, Morgan has the legacy advantage. Well, now nobody is going to know that Dominic has the legacy advantage. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, you can guess that it's one of the Navitis left on that tribe, but you're right. I mean, Wendell, Dominic, Angela, who knows? Right. Maybe Libby. So yeah, you're right. Nobody now knows who has the legacy advantage. That's more fun. That's a little more fun. And hopefully, I mean, we've seen that Dominic is very you're right. He's like the perfect person to have, especially something like the legacy advantage, where it's like much more about using it for leverage, although that certainly didn't work for Officer Sarah. But like there's ways, like just like the fun stuff where you can like use it for leverage rather than it just being a single use tool.
Right. And especially now where he's going to have his back against the wall coming into this next episode, should they go to tribal council again?
Yeah.
Who knows what he's going to pull out of his sleeve.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I wonder how many people know the legacy advantage so specifically. I mean, certainly, if he makes it to the merge, we maybe have a good legacy advantage play.
Okay, let's talk about what's going on at the original Malolo tribe, where again Naviti has the numerical advantage and is feeling good. We saw the 4 remaining Malolo there end up feeling like they are in a bad spot, and they went hunting for idols, Stephen.
Yeah, and Michael finds it, which is such a fun moment. This is what I love about this season, is how much the history of the show is just pervading it. And Michael finds it's one of the idols that James left the show with. Michael has this really distinct memory of rooting for James as a kid, and then being disappointed.
Were you buying that?
Oh yeah, I bought that. Like, it seems so. You think someone fed him that?
I don't know.
Yeah. Wow. Michael Truther. No, I think that he's he's not like making up like I loved watching James as a kid.
That's just the first I'm hearing that Michael is this super duper fan who's a 10-year veteran of watching the show.
James is a very memorable character, and even if you're not like even if you're not watching Rob Has a Podcast, maybe you remember Gravedigger James.
Yeah, even maybe we'll see. Yeah. So, Stephen, the James idol, though, I think that first off, that Jacob probably has to feel really bad that the idol he was looking for was sort of this manhole cover that was out there.
Yeah, I know.
It is the hardest idol to also find, or to conceal. The hardest idol to conceal.
It's true. It's really funny. That is really funny. He's gonna have to bury it immediately. That's a great call.
Yeah, you gotta like bring it with you to every tribal council.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's great that they find the idols, and again, you see these Malolos who just have so much more hustle. Because also the other thing about these guys who are out looking for the idol is they don't know if it's already been found. There's a chance while they're looking that one of the other Malolos, who's now on the Naviti beach, has already found the idol and has it. So they're out there like digging through the dirt, not even knowing if there's anything that they're digging for, which I always find is like such a cool commitment to the show. Like just to expend all that energy in the desperate hope of like finding something magical, and there might not even be anything magical out there. And meanwhile, the Navitis are like lying back and complaining.
They're doing so much complaining about what's going on at the tribe, especially Bradley. We found out what Bradley's thing is, Stephen. He complains about the conditions.
Yeah, he's like the Seinfeld of the but like, and it was the first time was so funny when Brendan was trying to have this moment with him, like, isn't it so beautiful? You'd never get sick of this. And he's like, yeah. More beautiful over than
sand over here. What's it about?
Yeah.
You guys have so many bugs here. Come on.
Yeah.
I want to go back to my camp.
Easier not to get sick of it at the other tribe. It is true. The other tribe had a awesome shelter, and that shelter looks like trash. Like, I can imagine, like, if you spent your first 6 days on Survivor in this like palace that Dominic built, and you go back and you're like, oh wait, this is Survivor? No, thank you. Like that might be like a shock to your system.
Yeah. Look, I think that I'm probably Team Brendan on this one.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I mean, I just felt bad for Bradley. His first words on the show. We all complain out there.
He did talk last week. He got a little, but the first memorable moment on the show is him complaining about stuff. Let's talk about Chris on Ghost Island, Stephen. There's been a lot of comparisons of Chris to Coach, and I did think that Chris did take a page from the Coach book on what to do when you are on exile,
which is just connect and center yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And really get into I'm surprised that he did not go full monastic approach.
Oh, I don't know. I thought that was such like a wonderful, sincere moment where he's thinking about his mom and trying to draw inspiration from her. I mean, with Coach, it was always like, I'm off on a dragon quest and I found a stick that looks, this seemed like a real, powerful family moment.
Okay. All right, Stephen, what else from tonight's episode?
That's a lot. Let's see. and I think we really covered it. What do you, anything else that you got?
No, I thought that it was going to be too early to go ahead and switch up the tribes tonight, but I feel like that after watching the episode, I thought it was good. I like that Chris and Dominic ended up staying in the same group. It's fun before these alliances really take hold, and really with the Ghost Island, that really became a great equalizer. Whereas, if you would have had the other tribe, if you would have had the new Malolo go to tribal council and it would have been a 5-4 thing, I think that would have been potentially a boring tribal council. But when you have the 5-4 split, but then on top of it, you had the Ghost Island element where you take somebody out of the 5 and it was going to be a 4-4. We had the commercial break right before tribal council. I didn't know, maybe we might go to rocks at this tribal council. So I thought it was ended up being a pretty exciting night.
Yeah, I mean, what a great result in terms of it being an old Navidi who draws that rock, and then you just have so much more drama there. I mean, obviously, it still would have been fun because it did look like Navidi was going home regardless, and it's always fun to see the underdog tribe, succeed and take out someone from the bigger tribe. Who's exciting you, Rob? Who we're 2 episodes in, or I guess 3 episodes in. Who do you got?
I mean, I'm very excited about the possibilities here. I think that there are a lot of different people that are, we're talking about as potential winners. I think there's probably like 5 or 6 different people that you can sort of like tell yourself a story that they could go on to be the winner of the season. I think that Morgan was one of those people coming into tonight. So I feel like that was very exciting. And, I'm really looking forward to watching now how Dominic and Wendell end up responding to this next week. Wendell is a very fun character. I really enjoy exasperated Wendell. I feel like when Jeff is like asking him questions and he's just like, shaking his head and shrugging about, what's going on here. So, did you like all of the analogy and metaphor about who's in the kitchen and who's in the living room?
They really, I mean, it didn't even seem like metaphor. It seemed like that was like literally they were just talking about like the kitchen area of the camp and the living room area of the camp. I mean, that's what the Navidi camp is so nice. They have all these like different, spaces. I did want to talk about, obviously Wendell made a bad decision tonight. He ended up trusting the wrong people. He ended up making a bad play. I like the way that he operates though. I'm not going to, I think the way that even when he's talking to Angela, he encourages her. The way he talks to her is very, even someone he's about to try to blindside, he really engages with them, tries to see where their head is at. And doesn't like, he's not like Chris where he's like, here's what you need to do. I felt like he really like guides people to the conclusion that he wants them to reach. Obviously it didn't work out for him tonight, but I still like the way he plays.
I want to go back to something that Kellen said when she was on the new Malolo tribe, and not talking about how it's like a ugly baby, which the line she should be looking for is, this camp is breathtaking.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Stephen, she said when she was talking with, I think it was with Stephanie and Jenna, and she had said to them like, oh, you guys are so great. It's like, it's a shame that the numbers didn't work out. Do you like that approach? Was it better to be straightforward and sort of like tell them like, hey, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's a numerical disadvantage for you guys and you guys really don't have a crack in? Or do you think that she should have been playing it more like there is a possibility of a chance for hope for them?
I'm really glad you brought that up, because when I watched that, I had I really was torn, because on the one hand, there's something good about, it's like what Cochran said when he went and played the game, which is like just talk strategy in a very impersonal way, and then people don't feel personally betrayed by you. So for her to be like, yeah, this is really nice, but sadly this is just the state of the game, like, but on the other hand, it really does like create that sense of a divide. And as Tyson said, here I am quoting all of my great,
mentors.
Mentors. Or this is scripture for scripture. As Tyson said, when you merge, like that's your new group, and like, or when you swap, like you can't assume what the people on the other tribe are doing. So you really need to go and like commit to this new group of people. So I really was on the fence about it. What did you think, Rob?
You know what? When I first heard it, I didn't like it, but then I did think a little bit more about it, and going back to in Blood versus Water, where Tyson was with Monica Culpepper, and I feel like that Monica Culpepper often sort of like gave hope to people, and
Yeah.
she had said well, I wanted them to think that I was like considering what they had to say, but I think it ultimately made people resent her, and because it's like, well, you heard me out and then you decided against me, where I think that Kellen, it's probably better to, sort of keep it more of an open and shut case and not even sort of entertain the idea, because then it's like she didn't reject anything. She's not making a decision. It's just like, oh no, but it just is how it is. It's like if I tell my kids that, oh, we might go out for ice cream, let me see, and then we don't, it's like, screw you, Dad. They don't know that word yet. But whereas I say from the get-go, we're definitely no ice cream today.
Yeah.
Is
she then though like missing an opportunity to once it's very possible that tribe will never go to tribal council again, right? Who knows what's going to happen in Survivor? And is then she severing something where down the line, is she committing herself too much to her original group and eliminating the possibility of down the line of having a relationship by being like, oh, sorry, we're apart and I'm going to have to vote you out? I'm having trouble making the parallel.
What I think she's doing is I think she's making the social connection, even if it's not the strategic connection. So hopefully that, should the game change and circumstances change, then she could be considered as an ally for those people that are on the bottom, and she could reach out to them. So as long as she makes the social bond, I think that ultimately ends up being, helping her, and then also being able to keep it at arm's length if they're looking for somebody to be angry with.
Yeah, I'm willing to accept that, though I do think there's an element where, like, if you're not saying like, hey, what are your strategic goals in this game? Like, the social connection is nice, but if you're not engaging with someone strategically when they're in the bottom, like if they get power, like why are they going to come to you strategically? It's so I'm with you though. I think ultimately it's probably the right play.
The problem might be, who are the Malolo 4 looking at in that new Malolo tribe as the leader of the Naviti 5? Are they looking at Kellen as are they looking at Sebastian as the leader? I mean, of that group, who are they thinking is? I mean, probably not Chelsea.
Yeah, well, we have, maybe they are. We have no idea.
We don't know,
yeah.
But there's not somebody who's been sort of the outspoken leader of that Naviti 5 group.
Yeah, certainly of the people we've seen, Kellen has been the most prominent on our TV screen. So
right,
it's easy to think that she's the one that they're connecting with the most.
Okay, let's get into some of your questions here. Hashtag RHAP as we move along here after episode number 2, week 2 of Survivor Ghost Island. Miriam wants to know, who would Stephen align with this season? Stephen, have you looked at your TV screen and said, okay, this is that perfect person that I would align with?
I really like Kellen. I really like Wendell. I really liked Laurel when I saw her. I really like James. Yeah, but this is my problem. This is exactly what I was saying with respect to like the Dominic and Wendell vote. Like, I would align with one of these like really smart, strong players, and then I'd probably end up losing to them. Like I need to pick someone who's not as good.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Chelsea. I actually don't know.
We know nothing about her. Who knows? She might be great.
Yeah. Okay. It's hard. Well, who would you align with here, Rob?
I mean, it's that's such a tough question because you don't know which tribe you're going to be on in terms. But I feel like at this point in the game, I think you probably want people who you could talk about all of your different strategic options. So I think I would probably be more aligned with the people who I felt like had a little bit of a knowledge base, and then think about ways to maybe divorce myself and explore other options down the road.
You know who the perfect person would be is Bradley, because he's super smart, obviously knows the game really well, thinks very analytically, and is getting under everybody's skin. He's like the perfect person to align with. Yeah,
could be a good person to work with. Yeah. What about Jonah?
I was like, I don't think I would align with Jonah. But Jonah wants to know, did James move too soon? Blindsiding Morgan stirs the pot. He could have sat back, voted Angela, and let Dom Chris go for each other next vote. What do you think, Rob?
No, I think that look, if you wanted to set off Dominic and Chris, I think that the right move was to keep Angela in the game because that's ammo for Chris. Where that it seems as though that there were people that were not really feeling Chris in that group. So if you want to really exploit that rift, I think that they did make the right move, and I think that Morgan is somebody who, I think it is probably not as big for them as if they would have gotten out Dominic, because he's such a mover and a shaker in the game and could create chaos. But I think it's better to get Morgan out than to get Angela out.
Yeah, and if they voted Angela, the old Navides could be like, well, the Malolos were committed on voting out Angela, and we didn't want to go to rocks, and that's an excuse. Whereas here, the Malolos voted someone out who's gone, and those Navides have that Angela blood on their hands.
Yeah, and Angela, that could be a number for them now. I mean, we could be looking at this as now it's what I guess they may have the numerical advantage if you say that Angela has now flipped. If she becomes like this Shambo type character, where now she is against her old tribe and now considers herself to be an honorary Malolo, and then maybe could even pull over Chris. This could be a huge shift in the numbers for Malolo.
Yeah, it really could be huge.
Okay.
All right. Kelly Lynch wants to know, who, if anyone, do you think will tell Chris about the fake idol?
Yeah, well, now the Malolo people also have that information. So somebody out of Laurel and James and Libby, probably could be Libby, or who's going to say, hey, Chris, just so you know, Dominic told us he has a fake idol.
But Chris has seen the real parchment. I mean, whatever parchment Dominic showed them, he said it was like tree mail. So presumably he had a tree mail that he then wrapped up his fake idol in. But Chris read the actual idol parchment. So someone is going to be able to put two and two together, hopefully.
Yeah, because he said in the second, he sort of maybe rethought all of this and told them in tonight's story that this idiot Chris, I showed him something was wrapped in tree mail, but Chris actually saw the real letter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So he's definitely he knows, he could know, depending. I mean, he may not know the show. I mean, I don't know how well he knows the show, but he could know that Dominic definitely has an idol. They all know that fake idol is fake. So, or they don't, or they think that's the real idol and the Dominic's lying about it being fake. Either way, they're going to know that Dominic has a real idol.
See, were you disappointed that there was no game for Chris to play at Ghost Island?
I wanted Chris to have a game. I thought it was, it would be fun to see what he does.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been fun to see Chris sort of put in that position. But at the same time, I think that probably, that in the Survivor podcasting, blogging universe, there's so much talk of oh my God, there's so many idols, so many advantages. Why do they put so many into the game? And now we have the legacy advantage. We have 2 immunity idols. We have fake immunity idols. That I think that Survivor is probably doing the right thing by the season by not just dumping out the cereal box in the first 9 days of the game.
Yeah. And again, I really think we're going to get an advantage heavy season later on, but it's fun. I mean, maybe you're right. I mean, whenever you have as a viewer, whenever you're exciting thing versus not exciting thing, you always want the exciting thing, but you don't, you do got to apportion your treats. Otherwise you'll.
Would you like to see there be some other game? A lot of people have talked about how whoa, would you just get to eat unlimited rice at Ghost Island? But would you like to see the game be something like the rations at Ghost Island?
You could risk your rat. I like the idea of risking a vote because it seems like much more real stakes. Everyone is going to risk food now, right? No one is not going to risk food for a day.
Right. But could there be something sort of out of the Gabon Exile Island where it's sort of okay, it's you have a meager portion there and you could have to risk it. Either you get nothing or you get a meal with some more substance. Or who cares?
Yeah. I mean, you would always risk it, right? The meager is nothing, but you'd go for the Sugar Shack. Yeah. I do think that it's it's a tremendous advantage, all of that rice that they get. So I hope that they kind of pare it back a little bit, especially in a season that's more based on, surviving.
Yeah. Okay. Steve, what is that? Alex Ladd
wants to know, do you think Libby made the right choice in voting Morgan? She could have stuck with the Angela vote and still had the majority.
Yeah, I mean, for Libby, we don't know exactly, whether she was just clearly outvoted, how much convincing it really took to get her to switch to the Morgan vote.
But I think Alex is asking, should she have voted with the Navides? In which case the answer is no.
Yeah, I don't think she should have voted against her tribe. I think that she would have been seen as a traitor too early on. This is Edmo Rosa, hashtag Thurston for Kirsten. Get out the vote for Kirsten McInnes. How shocked were you that Morgan gave the legacy advantage to Doomy Nick?
I wasn't that shocked. I mean, it was either him or Wendell, right? And I kind of was hoping that he would give it to Angela, or she would give it to Angela, just as like, you know what, you survived and I didn't. But
I kind of thought that maybe she's like, I don't know if this legacy advantage is cursed, but yes, I'm giving it to Libby.
Yeah, maybe so. No, I thought Dominic was a totally.
She could have given it to somebody that was on Malolo also. She didn't have to give it to somebody at that tribal council, right?
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Dominic's the great. From a viewer's perspective, it's great that he has it.
He'll know what to do with this, and then next week he'll be like, "Hey guys, get over here. I made up this fake legacy advantage. It's not real. The fake legacy advantage that I made. I found an old brochure over here and a magic marker, and so this is a fake legacy advantage. Don't tell anybody."
All right, Timmy Samari wants to know, what's more surprising, Morgan being voted out or Russell Hantz's name being mentioned twice in one episode? It was twice? I remember James mentioned Russell Hantz as saying that Dominic was like Russell Hantz. What was the other time?
I think that he said James twice referred to him as like another Russell Hantz.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it is interesting. The legend of Russell Hantz endures.
Yes. So it does, and it's not a positive reputation. Like that's never a good thing. Like, oh, I love that guy so much. He's like another Russell Hantz. There's no positive of ever another Survivor player describing somebody like Russell.
Yeah. But it's good for Russell that he has such an enduring memories.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Go ahead.
Anessa wants to know what was old Naviti going for here? This was a terrible play, and they had the numbers. Well, not at the time that they went to the tribal council.
Yeah. That's correct. They did not have the numbers at the time they went to the tribal council, and they did not want to go to rocks for Angela. So, I mean, it didn't seem like Malolo was presenting this united, we're all for voting together front.
Yeah.
But, we
didn't really talk about this that much. Should they have gone to rocks, Stephen?
Should Naviti have gone to rocks?
Yeah. And do you think that Malolo was prepared to go to rocks?
I hope so. I mean, it would have been the correct move. Didn't Angela say she was like ready to go to rocks? Someone said that she was ready to go to rocks.
Yeah, I think Angela did, but the other people did not.
Yeah, the correct move would for both tribes, it would have been to go to rocks. But it's like I always say, Rob, the tribe that's willing to go to rocks usually doesn't even have to go to rocks. Usually, obviously, now in the last couple of seasons, this happened a few times. But
do you think that maybe they should have at least gone through it? Like they took out that rule from Game Changers where it's immediately a rock vote. Should they have gone through that first vote, Stephen? Or do you think is that dangerous because then somebody from the other side could switch as well?
I mean, they're so fixated now, on getting rid of Angela, not risking the rocks thing. It, even in their best case scenario, though, how does that work out for them, right? Like Naviti votes out Angela. Chris comes back. He's mad. He teams up with the Malolos. Like even in the best case scenario, the Angela vote does not work out well for them.
Yeah. Well, you're right, because then it's still a 4-4 split for them because but I think that they felt like that they had convinced the Malolo people that Angela that it was going to be basically like an open and shut case.
I think it's like a 5-3 split for them, right? Because
I think they thought it was going to be a 7-1 vote.
Right.
So they figured, okay, well, we got through tonight, and then let's see, maybe we don't go to tribal council, and maybe we could talk, and we'll be happy to throw away Chris at this next vote also as well.
Yeah, so we've got some padding here. You're right. You're right. That's a good point.
Maybe but we'll be saved by maybe we'll win a challenge, maybe and then we'll switch things up again.
I mean, in some ways, that's actually good thinking, right? Like, hey, this is our new group. This is our new tribe. Let's operate as one. Let's find the people we want to work with. And the Malolos are just coming at it from a completely different perspective, which is like, we're Malolos. We have to like undo the Navitis.
Yeah. Okay. This is
which do you think is right? I mean, obviously the Malolos ended up winning tonight, but
which I'm sorry, of which thing?
Better to say like, hey, we've got our old core group from our original tribe. Like, let's like work against this other group. Or do you, say this is our new tribe? Like, let's form as one.
It's just, it's so hard to, at this point in time, I think you're probably better off of, I'm with this group. It's too early in the game to think that, Game Changers was a season where people from the one tribe, the the tribe that the Brad Culpepper and Ozzy tribe, that the people wanted to stay, that group wanted to stick together immediately off the bat. But you're probably right in terms of that. I don't think we're going to be thinking about things as Malolo and Naviti for much longer, especially you would think that in an episode or two we're going to switch to groups of 3. And so I think you have this opportunity in this bigger group to make bonds with other people that maybe you end up just trying to get through the next couple of votes and form some sort of a coalition.
So you think it would have been right for the Malolos then to just vote out Angela together with the Navitis?
But they had this opportunity here where they had like they saw something where I think that this was like a golden opportunity for them, and then they still have this opportunity to potentially take out Dominic and Wendell at the next 2 tribal councils, which would be and then bring in Chris and Angela into their group.
Someone was tweeting at me, should the new Naviti throw the next challenge?
Great question. Yeah. Now, you have to think about Dominic. They didn't blindside him here, and they potentially had that opportunity tonight. So now you would think he's going to play his idol if they believe that he has a real one at this next tribal council. So do you then put the votes on Wendell at this next vote?
Yeah.
You throw the challenge and vote out Wendell. That's going to be
throwing the challenge. It's just so dangerous, especially if Dominic has an idol. So like you don't want to like be faced with that decision. Even knowing that there's a chance he's going to play it for Wendell, right? So or you don't know that he's an idol. I guess with Chris's information, you should have enough information to know he's an idol. I would not throw it. It's just there's too much.
Well, I think here's my prediction. Okay, so they throw the challenge. They go to tribal council. Dominic puts the fake idol on Wendell at the tribal council and says, "Okay, look, I gotta give him my idol." And then they put the votes on Dominic. He plays the real idol. Oh, what a tribal council!
Yeah.
And then we say, "Look, we were so stupid to doubt Dominic. He knew everything. He's the best. We're stupid idiots. What do we know?"
Yeah.
And then he can have the podcast.
Done.
Yeah, okay. And then me and you can go do whatever we want on Wednesday.
Oh, that'll be fun. But will we talk, like, the nice thing about the podcast, among the many nice things, one nice thing is it's a chance to hang out with you, Rob.
Is it, you really like that? I feel like that you're just saying that.
No, I really like that. Why are you insecure about that? I'm very upfront with you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Stephen, then which is better, 3 tribes of or 2 tribes of 9 or 3 tribes of 6?
So last week, May Culpa, I said, no way are they doing 2 tribes of 9. It's definitely 3 tribes. They're not going to do 2 tribes again. I was obviously wrong. I kind of liked it.
I like big tribes.
Yeah. Like, the big tribes, it's like you don't always know what's going to happen. You were right about how annoying it would have to be to watch the tribe like build a shelter again. I'd heard a thing that they were always going to do 3 tribes from now on, because they liked the way the dynamics.
Doesn't mean we won't see 3 tribes eventually.
I guess that's right. I guess they could go down to 3 at 15. So yeah, I liked it. And also I think that there's enough play happening now in this season, and maybe all seasons in this day and age of Survivor, where you're not seeing, the thing that they were really trying to stop was that Upolu 5 just hanging tight and voting everybody, that those big alliances that kind of really sucked the fun out of the game, where you had 8 people who voted together and then they were just like slowly picked off one by one. It was boring.
Okay. Then this is a question from Edric. Is it a bad move for Kellen to dismiss working with the Malolo minority on her tribe? We did discuss this. Have you changed your opinion on this question, Stephen?
No, I still think it's I think she did a good. Also, you see her like hugging Stephanie. I think she's doing a good job of forming those bonds. I think you're right. So I'm a fan.
Okay. Eric Laval. Here we go again. Can we call her Purple Chelsea yet?
How long, Rob?
I don't know. People are like dying to say, purple.
We need permission, Rob. When can we say it?
I don't know. How exciting is that? I mean, it's only
purple. The way you said it, it sounds really exciting. You made it sound really fun. I didn't even think it was that cool until you did that.
I mean, that we're like chomping at the bit of like, they got no confessional. Like, okay, let's play it out. It's a long season. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. So no, it's not looking great for Chelsea getting a lot of airtime, but we'll see.
Yeah. But also, like, people said this in Samoa. I mean, I know I keep saying this, but like, oh my God, nobody on Galoo. We don't even know who they are. Then when like, after the merge, when their story was more relevant, suddenly they were big characters. Like Dave Ball was barely in the show before the merge.
I remember everyone was like, oh, Purple Dave Ball.
Yeah, this was before the purple era, but he was in fact on the purple tribe, Galoo. Yeah. There's plenty of time for Chelsea to have a very rich story arc.
Yeah.
In fact, the real dangers are the people who talk like a little bit, who are just there. Like,
oh, Purple Kelly Sharbaugh. Oh. John Densford, if you're Angela and Chris, did you turn your back on Wendell and pray for the swap? What you do if you're Malolo? Yeah, I don't think that they're going to just, be like, just to save themselves. I think that they're really going to be wanting to go after those guys. I think they're going to turn their back and with glee.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, the fact that they two of them wrote, her name down, like it's not easy to forget when your own tribe betrays you. Although sometimes it's easy to forget, but you shouldn't forget it. You should never forget it.
Yeah, you shouldn't forget it. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I did think that Angela might have been going home tonight. I really did think that. I said, here comes the visibility spike.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I felt like this is it. This is it for Angela tonight.
Yeah, I thought so too. When we went into tribal council, I thought Angela's definitely going home, and no, we were wrong. All right, Miko Penis wants to know: do you like the effect of Ghost Island that it blocks someone's vote? Will we see this during the merge as well?
Yeah, do you think, if you had to guess right now, will somebody go to Ghost Island and miss the tribal council every week? I feel like
I hope so. The problem with it at after the merge is that if it's I guess it's not a majority vote, it's a rock draw. Like just removing someone randomly. I mean, it certainly like adds to the Calvin Ball sensibility that we've been going for.
Exact same prize as if I win the immunity challenge.
Yeah, because you can't vote. You can't bring your plan to fruition. And that's like a lot of what
people would be falling over themselves to go to Ghost Island.
Right. But if everyone is random, I mean, it looks like there's more than like 4 or 5 of these urns. I think we're going to have.
I mean, you tell me, when you were out there last time, would you have rather have gone to tribal council and had the opportunity to be voted out, or go to Ghost Island and been insured 3 more days of safety?
Oh no, of course you'd rather go to Ghost Island. Of course you'd go, but like I'm just from the perspective of the game, like the sort of element of randomness it will add to people's very complex plans could be interesting from a viewing perspective. I mean, obviously not from a game player's perspective. It could be disastrous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that people won't miss tribal councils. I think that people will. The person that wins the reward challenge will pick somebody to send to Ghost Island. I think that's how it'll work.
Right. And then they will, and they'll be back in time for the next tribal council.
They'll be back for tribal council, or maybe they'll come back at tribal council and they were sort of like out of the loop on everything. And now they have to, I don't know, what do I do?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that idea.
I like it.
Okay.
Sending you through to Samoa.
Yeah, so you're going to Samoa. So Scott, let us know if we have anything else. Otherwise, we'll start to wrap up. Timmy wants to. Do you think that it's possible that Wendell could win over Angela's trust again? I think that Angela's kind of no nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, anything is possible.
Yeah, you think that they will?
No. I mean, I think that's, voting against, especially at this point where you do have this really clear tribal dynamics. It's one thing like after the merge, a group votes against you and then you're like, okay, guys, good move. But I do think it will be challenging for her.
Okay. Last question or two. Emily.
All right. Emily wants to know, now that we know the rule about a rock draw for sending someone to Ghost Island, what will the strategy be? Will players opt to leave it to chance just to avoid having the burden of choosing to send someone? It's a good question.
Yeah. What do you think, Stephen?
It's going to be hard to pick I presumably like that's the question they'll be discussing at night, right? Like, you don't have that much to talk about. So who should we send if we have to send someone to Ghost Island?
Right. I think it's going to go to a rock draw a lot, because I think that you are not going to have a like if we're going to keep having tribe swaps and we're going to you'll never get one united group to decide who goes to Ghost Island again.
Yeah, I completely
agree. I think it could be a rock draw every single time the rest of the way until we get to one person picking it.
I think it's likely that that's what will happen, because you'll never get, people are always going to want to defend their allies and different alliances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it could create problems. It's like, remember when Kellen was really saying like, oh no, we have to save Dominic. We can't send Dominic to Ghost Island. They must be together. So I think that there's like some interesting discussions that are happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. It's a fun element. It's fun. I mean, again, like from a player's perspective, adding this huge element of randomness every tribal council is like disastrous. Like, how do you plan anything? You know, if you're making this big plot for tribal council, you don't even know if you're gonna be there to execute it. You know, it's like completely unsettling. But I think it could be fun from a viewing perspective.
Okay. Derek wants to know, should Libby and James, etc., throw the next challenge? I'll say that I'll play my flag. I'll say they should not, Steven. I think that with a group of 6, I think that it's a little bit more controllable. But I think that, especially with Dominic being such a wild card, does he have an idol? Does he have a fake idol? Yeah. I think that they might be going into a trap.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's too dangerous. In fact, it was Derek's tweet earlier that I had brought up before. So I agree. It's too dangerous. All right. Jay wants to know, should James's 2 idols have been bundled together? What do you think? Is the other James idol out there on Ghost Island?
Yeah, maybe both James idols. I feel like that Todd really got left out of the story of James getting the idols.
What do you mean?
I mean, you saw Survivor China, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Todd is the one that, telling him about the idols.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they don't have time to do a full recap of the China season.
Okay. Well, then you would have known the previously on. You would have known that Todd won that season.
Okay. Exactly.
All right. We've got so much coming up here over the next couple of days here on the podcast. Of course, exit interview tomorrow. Then we are going to have Zeke here. If you have emails for Zeke, send them in survivor@robhasawebsite.com. And of course, we'll get to your voicemails with Simone, robhasawebsite.com/voicemail. So lots of good stuff coming up. And also all of our Big Brother Canada 6 coverage as well in the next 24 hours. And if you want to go even deeper into Rob as a podcast, the most immersive experience there is, Stephen, is to become a patron of Rob as a podcast. Get access to all of the exclusive patron-only shows, the community, behind the scenes videos, and more. All at robhasawebsite.com.
The community seems really like very devoted. You know, it seems like such like a great community, like a loving, supportive, wonderful community.
It's a very active community, Stephen.
I'm always really impressed whenever I meet the patrons. You know, the patrons, like all the fun activities they plan together, and like it seems like a really great group.
Oh, Stephen, maybe we should include you in more of the things that we do.
Yeah, I mean, I would like that. I would like to get an invite every so often. That would be nice.
Okay. All right. So of course, follow Stephen Fishbach on Twitter. That I'm finding that I'm really enjoying your Wednesdays. I feel like that there's a lot of like your pregame ritual for Survivor. I feel like it's starting earlier and earlier, and it's like the one time a week you're super active on Twitter.
Yeah, I get hyped up. I try to like save it all week because like I do. Twitter's a huge distraction, obviously, and so I try to avoid it for the week. But then I just like with Survivor nights, I like get so overcome with this anticipatory energy that I just break out in a series of tweets.
Yeah, I just imagine you like going around your house like a Ray Lewis pregame, just getting like really hyped up.
I have to Google Ray Lewis.
All right. So check out Steven's blog. Of course, follow him on Twitter. Come join us. RunItUpReno.com. Use the promo code RobReno for 20% off your room. And then, of course, looking forward to all of the podcasts breaking down this episode. Really looking forward to going back and watching this episode again. Thanks so much to Scott St. Pierre behind the scenes. Steven, anything else?
This was great. You know what? Yes. This is season 36, and I was on season 18. And when I was on the show, it seemed like the show had been on forever. And this season is really special for me because it's like the halfway point. I'm now officially like really old school, and it also means I've been blogging the show after the season is done for over half of the season run. So this is a very meaningful season to me. I didn't want to say anything earlier because it's so self-involved to talk about this stuff. But like, yeah, this is a big deal for me. I'm very excited.
I'm pumped up. I'm really looking forward to season 40 when then we could say that Rob as a podcast has existed for half of Survivor's history.
That's what I'm saying. My blog has existed for half
life.
History. Yeah, this is my half. I was ahead of you, as we may or may not have discussed.
Yes. Okay. Does that mean you're older than me?
I'll never be older than you.
Well, if I die.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have that to hope for.
All right, everybody. Have a great night. Take care. Bye.
Bye.